Hello and welcome. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the screening I went through last week. First, I want to address, I posted a short recently and someone said, oh, I can't look past your male pattern baldness. It's female pattern baldness, actually. Thank you. And then they said my makeup looked like it was done, or I think it was like their fifth grader could do it or something. Whatever they were saying my makeup isn't appealing. I just want to say, I do this for me. I look like this because this is who I am. If you are incapable of processing images beyond sort of surface level characteristics of people, I don't think any of the insights that I have to offer are going to be worthwhile to you. So I think, I don't know, all that to say, I don't really need comments on my appearance. I know what I look like. I have a video of it. A lot of people want to say, oh, there are only two genders. That's actually wrong. There is one gender. It's a word we use to define a set of characteristics belonging to sort of a social interaction we all engage with society around us. Gender doesn't exist in something like a bedroom. Well, it kind of does when there are two people in the bedroom, but okay. Let's get something clear. I am Sticky in the streets, Chloe in the sheets. I am here on camera, Sticky, and I am Chloe editing, and maybe if we're lucky, Chloe will say hi, but normally I just cut it up. Or, I don't know how to explain it beyond that, but I don't know. Figure it out. Don't waste my time with your incapacities, though. That's not really my challenge. In terms of gender, I mean, I don't know what the whole argument of whether or not, like, women are capable of having penises. If it's a collection of traits and characteristics, the genitals of someone only represents the phenotype of one chromosomal sort of feature of that person, not the entire set of characteristics. I have green eyes, but no one comes in the comments and goes, wow, Chloe, you have such beautiful green eyes. You're like Esmeralda from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Instead, they say, wow, Chloe, you're such a beautiful trans woman, like that hunchback in the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it's like, he has a name, you know. It's Quasimodo, and it means half-formed. And much like him, I am half-formed because I'm in transition to being the expression that I identify with. It's a process. That's why my hairline isn't receding. If you had seen my hairline many moons ago, my hairline was receded and is replenishing. It's a process, though. Things take time. And I took time when I was growing up. It comes down to a series of events that get really complicated, but in short, my grandmother played a huge role in my early development. My grandma Lawless. She was a wonderful woman, but she always called Pokemon Pokemon. And I thought that was interesting because man and monster are two sides of the same coin, you know? And my grandmother was cheated on by my grandfather. And it's like, oh wow, it's interesting my grandmother retained her Catholicism while my cheating grandfather went off and became a Presbyterian or an evangelist or a Baptist or one of the 1,000 other sects that say cheating on your wife is an acceptable thing to do. Meanwhile, my grandmother was beholden to these sort of traits that were set upon her as a woman who grew up in, like, the old days of America when Trump used to just be able to say what he wants. And nowadays, people will say that there are videos of him saying the N-word, but no one can produce one that isn't made out of AI. And we know they exist. It's not like it's a surprise that our president has used the N-word derogatorily. That's like Joe Biden. I don't want anyone to be in office representing me if they lived during a time where people referred to other people simply on the basis of skin color. We should have learned and grown past that, and yet we haven't. And again, It's not near the same to be transgender, because you can be transgender independent of race. There are African American transgender women. There are African American transgender women serving in the military. And they face the same hardships I do as a trans woman, plus the hardships of living in a country that denies the reality that we are built on the backs of slavery. And then, all of a sudden, I'm not actually allowed to talk trash about the podcast. My dad said if I start beef with them, he's not going to be able to hear their side of the argument because their audio is ran so terribly. And I felt, I mean, Dad, we're not allowed to make those jokes, okay? He was pressing me. He's like, are they a non-profit or are they just not profitable? And I mean, you look at the equipment they have like Shure MX7Bs, you know? It's like high quality podcasting equipment, and that's what it sounds like. And my dad asks, so what's their mission? And I said, they're supposed to elevate trans voices. And my dad goes, well, they certainly elevated the hell out of yours. They elevated it so high that you don't even line up with the video anymore. And then we get to the John Wick. Obviously, I saw more than just the lightning strike in John Wick. Obviously, I watched the entire movie. The lightning strike being off is what ruined it for me. That's the point. If you see my argument and you go, oh, hey, that person making the argument, that's not relevant. Anyway, please leave in the comments if you want to let me know how you would treat me like your little baby and make me feel all safe and warm. I don't want any comments about mean stuff regarding either my hair or, I don't know, people on the internet seem to just find the ways to poke me. Also, my makeup, low-key slay every day. What are you talking about? Your 5-year-old. I hope they could do this. This is my everyday wear for fucking work. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about work on here. And again, let me just take a deep breath, because I'm supposed to be telling you all some of the things that happened in my life recently in regards to being diagnosed with preliminary autism or whatever. That's not a significant diagnosis that I need to pursue further, but it tells me enough about my childhood that I know that I didn't grow up being heard and listened to. And I mentioned my grandma Lawless. But my grandma Lawless passed away when I was about 6 years old, and my mom didn't handle it very well and needed some space. And during that time, we had a massive earthquake in Washington. I would have been in probably about kindergarten or first grade. And the earth shakes underneath me, and my mom's not around. And, you know, it's those little things that we remember. And when I got diagnosed with this preliminary diagnosis, you know what I remembered? I remembered, hey, when I was growing up, I talked a lot about my issues focusing, and I was never diagnosed with ADHD, but I was able to take this test and get diagnosed with ADHD. He said, yeah, clearly. And that's with it being managed. So it felt as if my entire life was kind of this period of not being heard and not feeling secure. Again, when the earth shakes from under you and you're a child, what are you supposed to do? And yet there are times in my life where people say things that are so off base that my heart quakes in the same way that the earth did on that day. And it tells me I have to say something. I worked at a hardware store, and while working there, I moved from the freight crew to the morning crew, and the morning crew would stock the shelves. While working on the morning crew, I had a coworker say a very racist statement to me. I went and started telling the manager about it, and as I was telling the manager, the guy who made the comment walked by and said, I didn't say that, and started challenging me on whether or not he said it. And again, there are moments in my life where my heart quakes and I know I'm right. And there are certain things that just light that fire in me, and I will scorch the entire earth to say, when I was a child, I mentioned these things because my older brother was diagnosed with autism. He received a lot of special treatment growing up, and I'm not necessarily bitter about it, but it's odd that while we were growing up, I would say, hey, this is some strange special treatment going on for Mikey on his behalf without very much regard paid for me. And a good example of this is I went fishing once with my dad, and we were on a fishing trip for my grandparents' anniversary. This is my grandparents on my Nolan side of the family, not my grandma Lawless / her bastard husband. He's rotting in hell, by the way. Hottest place in hell is for liars. My grandma Lawless taught me that. Damn Wokemon coming into my comments, starting up. Anyway, so I'm on this fishing trip with my dad. My oldest brother throws a party in the house, and during that party, my Nintendo DS gets stolen. Now, this was, you know, a Nintendo DS with a Pokemon cartridge in it that had a lot of Pokemon that I cared about. And when I got home from the fishing trip with my dad, I said, hey, my Nintendo DS isn't in the carrying case. The carrying case is still here. And so there's that sort of what's going on, and I'm told, well, no one stole it, you're making things up, and you get this belittlement on what you experience, and it's a pattern that occurred throughout a lot of my childhood that how do I not feel and see it? And then when I get diagnosed with something that tells me, oh yeah, actually, you know, you weren't so off base that you were making up realities. You were just perceiving things differently and masking and doing this and that. I got told that it's rude to walk between two people who are talking. I haven't known that my entire life. I did it the morning I was getting diagnosed because I work in public schools. I like to do my job. I have this weird SpongeBob energy about me. And people will take advantage of that. It's hard for me to distinguish who's trying to take advantage, and that's why I reject principles of capitalism. There's a lot that goes into where my beliefs come from, but if you look at me and you only go, oh, damn, Chloe, those fucking eyes are so radiant and your ass is so fat, you're not gonna hear that I'm the woke trans-communist veteran. You're not gonna understand the lore of Dark Souls as it's experienced by the chosen undead. You're gonna just think you're killing bosses, but you're killing princesses and the half-breed Priscilla, the literal queen of the painted world of Ariamis. And you just go into the painted world and kill her? You monster. But we don't do that here because we are all about being kind to others and being kind to ourselves. So, anyway, I don't have contact with a lot of my family. My dad and I have a good relationship. I would like to share, some parents say they support their kids. When I was serving overseas in the Middle East, something that would get impounded at customs or like confiscated was phallic pleasure devices. And when I was in Bahrain, I was having some liquid courage, and I called my dad and said I requested a pleasuring phallic device. And you know, I'm not going to say who did what, but I just have the world's greatest dad. Some parents say they support their kids, but my dad walks the walk. I think even later today I'm gonna have a picture and he wanted to go and share my QR code at some protest he's going to. He's an incredible person. It's challenging when he sees me and sees me as great, and a lot of my family sees me and they see me as, well, it's okay. I don't have to worry about how they see me. Because honestly, I only really worry about how you see me. And that's why I make an effort here to show you who I am. It's because we all go through complicated situations. We all have lives that are so intermixed with different events and experiences that to write events off and pretend we don't remember them and deflect accountability, are we even living at that point? Socrates once said the unexamined life is not worth living. And you know, it's wild that he could say that. And then as he's under sort of the pressures of society, he says, yeah, I might be corrupting the youth, but my point in corrupting the youth is that society is corrupt. And now, again, who's the one that gets painted as corrupting the youth? The drag queens? For reading children's stories. We're going into libraries and changing the education that children receive. The corruption of youth occurs through propaganda. When we grow up and believe communist scare tactics from Cold War era propaganda, we don't formulate opinions on how we can economically best grow. We form our opinions based on Fallout 3 and Liberty Prime. And that's not a good basis for seeing the real world. I wish gamers understood that, but they're off chewing their poison gum and drinking 6,000 milligrams of caffeine. Anyway, that was a lot. So, I appreciate you letting me get all that off my chest. Hopefully, this weekend we can have a little bit more fun than these past couple of videos have been. I wore my ears too, so we're cool right now. Again, that process of getting diagnosed, I went back and visited my family for Thanksgiving and was talking about how after the military I had a hard time finding work in the civilian world, and that's what led me to working at the private school or public school district as an electronics technician. It was because I was like, well, there's not a lot of places offering me a job here, and this place offers me a job and allows me to serve something that isn't the pockets of capitalists. You know, I can at least help provide an environment for students. And my brother, who has been working at the same job for about 8 or 9 years, the entire time I was in the military, I actually worked at that job with him before I joined the military. He upon hearing that I had a challenging time in the job searching thing, decided to chime in that he, as a person with autism, has a hard time finding work because of his autism. This was on Thanksgiving. I had a hard time finding work because people see my name as Chloe, and then they call me and hear my voice, and then they think we don't need this problem. When I showed up even to my job now, I recognized, hey, they probably talked about me before I got here because everyone's way more happy and greeting than normal. And the reason I know how normally I would be greeted and acted in a standard situation is because of the military. When I got out of boot camp and crossed the street and went into the schoolhouse barracks, I remember someone stopping me and going, Chloe, why do you smile so much? I'm sorry, I'm happy to be here and happy to like do work and happy to be productive. Like, I enjoy what I do, and every day I'm so excited to be able to share the story of Dark Souls with you. And every day things get in the way and things make me stumble, but you know what? It's not gonna make me have a bad day. People might not know how to merge, but you know what? I'm still gonna get to my destination safely. Like, the bigger picture is that we endure. And again, if you don't stick around to the end, you don't get to hear me say, thank you so much for listening. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. So, have a good one.